He makes it hard. We want to elevate the discourse. We want to avoid distraction. And I don't want to fall into the lazy trap of calling the president a dum-dum. The dum-dum critique has very limited value. Calling Ronald Reagan stupid did not keep him from a second term. Dan Quayle misspelling potato didn't keep George Bush, the elder, from becoming the president. George W. Bush, fool me thousands of times, shame on. Well, I hope you don't fool me again. When George W. Bush said it isn't pollution that's harming the environment, it's the impurities in our air and our water that are doing it, that didn't change or save or buoy the climate movement. When he said, I know how hard it is for you to put food on your family, that did not reduce wealth gaps or give hungry people more food. And if we don't succeed, we run the risk of failure. And that line by George W. Bush did not make us successful in the woefully misbegotten invasion and occupation of Iraq. Focusing on Donald Trump's butchering of sentence structure takes away time we could be using for persuasion about the matters that impact the lives of our communities and the fate of our democracy. But then he says this, and I have to dwell on it just for a moment. Nate, can we play it?
I just want to thank all of the incredible men and women who have done such a great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Thank you. You can stop it there. One of the wettest we have seen from the standpoint of water. We don't want to focus on sentence structure. I don't want to be distracted. I don't think it's very useful to call the president a dum-dum. But then he says, one of the wettest we've seen from the standpoint of water. And I recognize that comparing the wetness of water itself raises a challenge. In fact, there's a philosophical question. Is, in fact, water wet? We could talk about the airiness of wood or the woodenness of air or the airiness of air. But there's also this. Does water have a standpoint? What is water's standpoint? Let us remember what standpoint means. An attitude to or outlook on issues typically arriving from one's circumstances or beliefs. What is water's attitude or outlook on issues? How might those be informed by circumstances or beliefs? Well, how would you feel if you were water? You might be as mad as cats and dogs. You might be pitchforks and darning needles. Water might be angry from the standpoint of angriness. And it's raining very hard from the standpoint of hardness. Ask Flint, Michigan about water. From the water standpoint, they didn't ask for lead. They didn't ask for poison. They didn't want to be shunned. They just wanted to keep it simple. 2 H's and an O. One fewer O than Santa Claus says. And there is no war on Christmas, but there is a war on water. And perhaps the water recognizes it needs to fight back. I'm Jefferson Smith. This is the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm sitting in today along with you. The call-in number is 202-808-9925. We're proud to have you. Right now, we know what's going on. We understand what's happening in our national government. That after decades of working towards an anti-democratic, and I did not capitalize that democratic word, after advancing and advocating for an anti-democratic, non-majoritarian system of decision-making that I would like to call a democracy. I'd even like to call it a republic. That now there is, in fact, a chance to get the fifth vote, and I called it a vote, in the unelected body of the three branches of government. And there will be important calls, I am sure, about the Supreme Court debate And I'm also hoping that we see it in the bigger context. Yes, the bigger context of the rise of the matriarchy, and the bigger context of the war on democracy, and the context of if we don't have a miracle in the next days, if we don't have, and what do I mean by miracle? I mean some Republicans of conscience, because there aren't enough Democrats elected. There are enough Democrats in the country. There are enough Democrats in the country to win more votes in congressional races, legislative races, gubernatorial races, and the U.S. presidency. But it turns out, the way that districts are drawn, there aren't enough in the halls of Congress. But unless that miracle happens, this will be a gift that keeps on giving. Let's hear from you about that gift. Let's also hear from you about the new news. I'm going to queue up just a couple of things as people call in. I want to talk about October that is coming. It is now almost fall. It is the last day of summer. I am honored to join you on this, the last day of summer. It is almost fall. And what is about to befall us? If I said I didn't do predictions, I would be misstating. We probably all do predictions. I don't put a lot of stock on my own predictions, but here's one, backed up by at least a little bit of reporting, that if you were wondering what might happen this October, all we have to do is look at the past. In the same way that we can look at the Anita Hill hearings to inform how we might approach and think about, anticipate the hearings that will happen next week. We can also think about the past, the very recent past, in looking at this October. What happened the last election October? A dump of hacked emails from the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton, dominating news cycles, members of the media probably now, some of them, I don't know if I'd say ashamed, but maybe some of them, at least mildly embarrassed that they allowed that to dominate the national discourse in the run-up to the 2016 election. And if we think that was the last time there was going to be such a data dump, if we think that's the last time there was going to be such hacked information, but this time, they don't even need hackers, Ukrainian or otherwise. Now they have the President of the United States who can declassify documents. Before the investigation is over, he can handpick documents to release, either all at once or document by document, in order to guide the discussion and focus our attention elsewhere. Because remember, the modern bully pulpit, now occupied by a bully. The modern bully pulpit is not that way merely because there are just a handful of radio stations or TV stations or local newspapers. But now the bully pulpit almost requires a rhetorical bully, or at least can reward one, because of garnering attention, because of holding on to the means of communication and the means of information. And those means will be used in October. What do you think will be the October surprise? That'll be one of the things we talk about today on this last day of summer. We'll also be talking about impeachment. Donald Trump is under fire, is under attack. And that attack is not going to go away. That attack he might try to get that attack to go away by wholesale firings. And then what will we do? I say we need to call for more than impeachment. We're going to talk about that. This is Jeff on the Thom Hartmann Show. We'll be back with your calls.